Hey, Suzanne here with Caregiver Haven. And today we're going to talk about managing caregiving stress. It is a chronic disorder, disease. It is manageable. It is only cured when caregiving ends. So let's talk about this chronic disease and what it does to you so we can regain balance and joy. And I'm going to give you 10 strategies that we're going to go over. We're going to dive into the unique pressures that caregivers face and the impact it has on your life and how to recognize certain signs. So, what is the chronic condition? How does it affect us? As I said, recognizing the signs. And we're also going to do a quiz, which I have below for you to look at, and how we're going to fix that with these 10 strategies. Okay, what is caregiving stress? It is basically the physical, emotional, and behavioral strains that we put on ourselves when we're caring for someone who has chronic illnesses, disabilities, or age related conditions. The stress is very unique to caregivers because it often blends the personal emotional bonds with the practical daily responsibilities that we have. So it's not something that comes and goes, it's constantly with us because of those daily responsibilities. Unlike the workplace, caregiving doesn't come with regular breaks. There isn't a clear endpoint or external support systems. It's 24/7 commitment that many of us make. And this constant pressure builds up and affects our lives, making it essential to recognize and address it early. It's not like baseball or football where the players have a season or they only play for not only a season, but maybe on an average 5 or 6 years. It's a constant, sometimes it can last up to 20 years that we make this commitment to caregive for somebody. So it just doesn't stop because you need a break. The statistics on caregiving, there are over 53 million unpaid caregivers in the United States alone, and it's going to get more and more as the senior population grows until 2029. And it's right now, even 1 out of 5 adults are caregiving. The average age is 39, and it's the majority of women. However, there is also, you need to know that it's only 60% women and 40% men who are caregivers. So it's almost 50-50. On an average, they spend 24 hours a week providing care, but many, of course, as this starts out at maybe, 5 or 6 hours a week, the average is 24. Eventually, it's 24/7. The statistics also show that caregiving is both common and demanding. And despite these numbers, that caregivers are basically invisible to help, to find help. And what we need to do is the caregiver has to go and find these support systems on their own because they just don't show up for the caregiver. The emotional toll that gives us is not only there's a range of emotions, but there's something we call the caregiving arena. In the caregiving arena, it's called FUDGE, FUDGE. And these are the 5 most common emotions we see in caregiving that you might experience: frustration, uncertainty, depression, guilt, and exhaustion. Those are the 5 most common ones. So, on top of this, many caregivers, we're going to feel anxious about our loved one's condition. We're going to feel guilt that we're not doing enough. And we're going to even feel resentment, which leads to anger because of the sacrifices that we're making. Um, these feelings are normal for the caregiver, but they're also overwhelming if not addressed early on. So there's emotional exhaustion. As I already mentioned, exhaustion is a big key. The exhaustion is another name for caregiver burnout. This is where the caregiver just can't do it anymore. And this is a common outcome. It's important to remember, too, that we have to recognize that caregiving is a shared responsibility, and we have to seek emotional outlets. And we're going to talk about those strategies later on. But it impacts our mental health as well. So let's talk about that. That not only do we have work, we have our family, we have our marriage, and we have our children. that we have to take care of. So all of these things are pulling us in different directions. And we want to look at how much is this draining on us mentally, where we're not thinking clearly anymore, we're not making good decisions, we're forgetting things we never forgot before, things like that. We're even thinking maybe we we need a break and it's costing us our marriage. We have to look at those things. The physical impact we're going to have is not only does it affect our mind, but it's going to impact your body. And we have a saying in medicine that if you don't stop, your body will. Your body will stop you and slow you down. It's either in the form of a virus like the flu or COVID. It's in the form of a pain in a joint or an ankle or a neck. It's going to be something that's going to slow us down. So caregivers will also report things like frequent headaches, chronic fatigue, muscle tension. They even have that weakened immune system, which leads to the cough, cold, or flu typically. So, not treated over time, this is going to lead to serious health conditions, such as the heart disease, high blood pressure, diabetes. And one of the most common things that we see among caregivers is, guess what? Sleep deprivation. Exactly. We have to recognize the physical toll. It's the first step toward creating a healthier us. We have to say enough and listen to our body and prioritize rest, exercise, and get proper nutrition. Let's look at something called the cortisol connection, because this goes hand in hand with stress. As I said, this is not caregiving stress is a chronic disease. It's chronic, which means it can't be cured, except in this case, it can be if we're no longer caregivers. But otherwise, a chronic disease is usually managed, okay? We try to keep it under control. But there is something called the cortisol connection. And what I mean by that is this is a hormone and it's designed to help us in emergencies. But when the stress is constant, the cortisol levels remain high. And this leads to weight gain, particularly around the abdomen where you get that belly fat. It's also an imbalance in the metabolism, and we find it incredibly difficult to lose weight. We don't understand why we can't lose weight. We just keep the weight on us, particularly not so much muscle, but fat. And what we're doing is we're juggling multiple responsibilities. We feel out of control. But the good news is by reducing the stress through exercise, mindfulness, self-care, proper sleep, we balance these cortisol levels. We improve our health. Cortisol is not the enemy here. The enemy is ignoring the signs of caregiving stress. There's also financial burdens. Caregiving isn't just emotional or physical. It takes a toll on our finances too. The average person, the average caregiver spends $600 a month on their loved one out of pocket. This means the gas it takes to drive them to appointments. It's the toll it takes on their careers that they have to take off work. It's picking up something quickly at the grocery store. It's buying stamps. It's running to the post office for them. It's all the things that we don't recognize that we're doing that's costing us money. And over time, it ends up being an average of $600 a month we are spending to take care of our loved ones. So many caregivers even reduce their work hours or leave their jobs altogether, resulting in lost income and benefits. I've also seen caregivers move to the state where their parents are in. They change their houses. That's costly. All these financial strains to get closer to their caregiver or to their senior to help them. And these are financial strains that just compound the stress already on the caregiver that they face. So we have to plan ahead. We have to know what the financial outlook is going to be before we take on caregiving, because it gets quite expensive. Another thing is, as I mentioned, the balancing the caregiving with a career. If you're in a career and you can't take off time, you're missing work, you're cutting back hours, you're even quitting your job. But before that, if you're on a career path, you're not going to get ahead. You're not going to be chosen for that promotion if you're the one that's always taking off. It's not like a pregnancy where you get the 6 weeks off and you jump back into work. It is a constant and up to 20 years that you can spend caregiving for somebody. So it not only affects your income, but it also limits your career growth, and it also limits your retirement savings for yourself. How are you going to retire if you're spending this money or you don't have the career? And what about your own Social Security? What's that going to look like down the road if you don't advance yourself financially? The good news is that, more and more employers are starting to recognize the challenges that caregivers face. And so they're offering caregiver friendly policies like the flexible hours and the leave options as you need. They know you're a good worker, they want to keep you, and they want to make a difference in your life by offering you this kind of support. There's also social isolation, and caregiving is very isolating if we don't watch ourselves here. We withdraw ourselves from friends and social activities due to time and constraints. I see this a lot with my friends who are taking care of other friends because we're all seniors and we're helping each other out. And instead of putting our spouses first and going out and socializing and having dinner with this person or a cocktail with this person or pickleball with this person or just a social event or doing water aerobics or anything like that, we say, oh, we have to, so and so called and they need help. So and so called and they need help. And the next thing you know, we go from all our social friends down to being alone. And this isolation is going to deepen the feelings of loneliness, and it's going to lead to depression. One of the biggest things I see with any kind of chronic disease is that as the senior is being taken care of, the caregiver starts to isolate themselves. And then what happens is the senior eventually passes, dies. And everybody shows up for the funeral. Everybody says, oh, how can I help you? And then everybody leaves and goes on their own merry way to get back to their very active social life. And what happens is this caregiver would show up in my office depressed and grieving because they have no social life anymore. They gave it up. Whether it's 2 years, 6 months, 5 years, or 20 years, they've given up their social life. They no longer see their grandkids playing ball. They no longer go to the birthday parties. They no longer go to the school functions that their grandkids are attending. They're missing out on life because of the caregiving. And so they've unsocialized their life. Another thing is, let's look at the sources. Okay, the emotional strain, the physical demands, the financial pressure, the constant juggling of responsibilities, all of this leads to the burden, adds to the burden. And we have to identify these sources of your stress so you can address them one by one. You're not going to do it all at once. It's just one by one. You're going to recognize and you're going to say, you know what, I need to put a little bit more proactive steps into managing this, whatever it is. Is it your emotions? Is it your physicalness? Is it your social isolation? Is it the financial burden? These are your sources. So how are you going to handle them one at a time, just to pick yourself up just a little bit and move forward? So to recognize that you have this stress starts healing your health and your relationships. And recognizing it earlier than later is more important too. So it's going to show up, as we said, even in behavior. You find yourself irritable all the time. You're snapping at your spouse. You're snapping at your kids. You're snapping at your friends. You're tired. Your body says you're tired. You've got to start learning to spot these signs. And you have to take action with them and say no more. They're becoming unmanageable. And you've got to break down these warning signs even further. So physically, we're going to recognize that something's wrong. As I said, it's going to be fatigue, sleep disturbances, it's going to be colds, illnesses, it's going to be headaches, it's going to be muscle tension, it's going to be all these things that just say your body is slowing down because you're under this stress. Listen to it. It's a powerful signal that you need to make some changes in your routine and you need to find some support. Period. I mean, that's it. Your body says no, you can't do it anymore. The emotional signs are going to manifest with sadness, anxiety, anger, even guilt. You're going to find yourself overwhelmed. You're going to feel hopeless. You're going to feel trapped. Any of these are emotional signs. They are very real. They are saying that something is wrong. And these feelings are normal, but they need attention now. They are interfering with your happy life. So, talking to a friend, a counselor, support group, something you have to give. Emotional, a lot of people feel like their marriage is falling apart, and the caregiver says, we have to go to a marriage counselor. First, you have to go to a caregiver counselor. You have to go to a caregiving counselor, and you have to learn how to say no and set boundaries. We talk about this all the time in our membership, the Caregiver Freedom Club. We talk about setting the boundaries, how to set boundaries, how to ask for help, how to get a yes out of people who oftentimes say no. All of these things are in so many of the skill sets that we teach in the membership. Another thing is the behavioral changes. It's another red flag. And you're going to notice yourself skipping meals, overeating. You're going to find yourself maybe napping. You're going to find yourself withdrawing from friends or asking you to come out. Well, after a while, they stop asking you to come out. And they want you to do more, and you're saying, no, I can't. I got to go do something else. I got to go do something else. And you know what? Eventually, the relationships start to fall apart. You don't have your friends anymore. You don't have your marriage anymore. You find yourself just in a sea of depression. So recognizing your behavioral signs early so you can get out of them is the first step toward getting healthy again. And it's amazing because I see this all the time with most people join our Caregiver Freedom Club because they see the emotional toll that's taking on them. They need the support. And then somewhere along the line, and I can't say exactly when it happens, but the member has a total shift in mindset. They all of a sudden get it. Whatever webinar they listened to, whatever product they did, whatever quiz they took, whatever workbook they went through, it was something that triggered them to say, I'm going to put myself first. I'm going to set my priorities. I can do this. And we have a saying in the Caregiver Freedom Club that you become the caregiver your neighbor is jealous of, that everybody's jealous of, because you got it together. You finally got it together. You're working a little at a time, a little at a time, a little at a time. But the big shift comes in that mindset. It's pretty cool to see. It's really cool to see. Okay, so let's take a moment and do the quiz below. And it's going to identify your caregiving stress. It's just answer the questions. There's no right or wrong, anything like that. Just answer and see where you're at. Take it again in 3 months and see where you're at. Are you getting better or worse? It doesn't matter where you start. Again, the thing is, you don't have to get it perfect. You just have to get it going. Okay, so it doesn't matter where you start. It's just if we do the little steps, and the little steps are, you don't have to run a marathon. You just have to maybe walk 5 minutes a day. You don't have to, reunite with a group and go out and do all that stuff. You maybe just have to pick up the phone and talk to somebody for 5 minutes. You can get on a virtual meeting with your caregiving counselor and say, I need help. You can call the caregiver advocate and say, I need to talk to you about X, Y, and Z quickly. You don't have to spend a lot of time on it. Okay. And as I said, well, caregiving is, why do we have to manage it? And let's look at the 10 strategies. Remember, caregiving is a marathon. It's not a sprint. So as we start to repair ourselves and we start to get a little better and out from under all the stress, we're going to find our well-being is better. We're going to find our quality of care is going to be phenomenally better for our senior. So once we take care of ourselves, we take care of a senior too. And that's what we're looking for. We're looking for improving our relationships. We're looking for, of all kinds of relationships, we're looking for improving our own health, improving our behavior, and improving the care we give those we love. If we're going to do it, let's do it right. Let's take care of ourselves first. Remember, you can't pour from an empty cup. Okay. So we're going to take steps to become a better caregiver by taking care of ourselves first. Remember, being caregiving isn't selfish. It's well, caregiving isn't selfish, but self-care isn't selfish. It's necessary. We have to do self-care. No one navigates caregiving alone. No one does. And when I hold these panels locally and nationally, and we talk about caregiving, the people that show up, it's not the panel so much. It's not what I say, it's what people in the audience say. People in the audience, especially being local, people say, oh, I know this resource locally. I know this resource. This person is really good. That doctor isn't any good. Don't go there. This doctor's great. They need this. Go here. And they help each other. So the panel actually acts as just a conduit, if you will, to get everybody together. So whether it's a workshop you're going to do on a Thursday morning at 10 o'clock, that's your appointment, that's your self-care. You're going to get in there and you're going to listen to this workshop. What you're going to find is everybody in the audience becomes your support team. And you get to know these men and women, and we hang out afterwards and we talk. And it's not the panel that's talking, it's not me that's talking, it is the audience that's talking among themselves. So we meet one another and we get these resources and we get this support. And it is amazing how people come out and they start to share about what's going on in their lives so we don't feel so alone. So asking for help is a sign of strength, not a sign of weakness. So, and together we're all that much stronger. I can't tell you the number of things that I've learned from the audience. So self-care, again, it's just not a bubble bath. It's not a spa day. It's not anything like that. It's little acts that are grounded that we do every day. It's the exercise. It's the short walk. It's anything we can do to reduce stress. It's a cup of tea, a cup of coffee. It's eating a nutritious meal that's going to fuel our body. All of these things. It's rest, it's relaxation. It's a minute. Maybe you have to get up 15 minutes earlier in the morning before your senior gets up so you can take that time to relax for yourself. That's it. It's the little things we do, and we do them every day. We do something different every day. Just a little bit at a time, we chip away at our own self-care. It's setting realistic expectations. It's not striving for perfection. Like I said, we don't have to, it's not, we're not going for perfection. We're just getting it started. Okay. Just the alleviate just some of the unnecessary steps. So you may have a big list of things you want to do and a plan, but we're going to do the financial, we're going to do the emotional, the behavioral. We're going to do all these things one step at a time, just a little at a time. That's what truly matters. And that's going to improve the care you give those you love. Learning the effective skills. We talk a lot about this in the caregiving, in the Caregiver Freedom Club. We talk a lot about good communication, how to prevent misunderstandings and reduce stress. There's a saying we have in the club. It's not what you said, it's what I heard. Think about that for a minute. It's not what you said, it's what I heard. Because we're so emotional at the time, we're not hearing what somebody's saying. We're not what they said, it's what we heard because of our emotions. So we want to be clear, we want to be honest when we're discussing our needs and expectations with our family, our friends, and healthcare providers, not only our own, but our seniors' healthcare providers too. We have to practice the active listening. Another thing, strategy number 5, we're going to utilize respite care. This is a big one for me. Now, one of the things that respite care is you taking time off for yourself. But I must emphasize here that there is a program in Medicare that will pay for respite care for caregivers. It's in the Medicare program. It comes through your senior, and what you need to do is you need to get with the person who set your senior up on Medicare. So this is an independent broker. Now, if you've gone through a 1-800 number on TV, or you saw somebody in front of the grocery store and you signed up, you had your senior sign up for Medicare, I can't help you. But if you have an independent broker, just like an insurance agent, and they help your senior, your loved one, through the Medicare process and help them sign up, they know about this program and they will sign you up for the program that offers this so that we can get you the respite care and it can be paid for by Medicare. This program will also pay for a care navigator to help you organize and strengthen your caregiver journey. It will give you everything I'm talking about here in this webinar. You need to get with a professional Medicare independent broker, not one who just sells one type of Medicare insurance, but offers the whole range of all the different Medicare insurance companies and picks the one, discusses it with you and your senior, which one is the best. Okay. You also have adult daycare programs. You can get a trusted friend to step in, all of this. And nothing's more important than the elder law attorney who will always find money in the state your senior lives and you live to help you with respite care. So they know the state programs that are out there, and there's tons of them out there. You just got to know where to find them. Well, the it's a certified elder law attorney. You can't go to it just an estate. That's not the person. It has to be a certified elder law attorney who specializes in this because this is what they live, breathe, and eat every day of their lives. They know the programs that are out there. Some of them even have care navigators on staff to help caregivers. That's how good a certified elder law attorney is. Okay. Seek professional counseling. And again, there are counselors and therapists out there to help you process the caregiving journey, manage the stress, the emotions, and develop the coping skills that you need to go through. They're amazing how they do it. They don't judge. They have the tools out there. Many times they know the care navigators out there, so they depend on them to get the resources for you locally to help you. They know who's good. They know who's bad out there. They're amazing. They know who the good doctors are. They know who the bad doctors are. Never hesitate to seek this kind of help. See if it falls under your health insurance policy that you can get this kind of professional counseling and that it can get paid for through your own health insurance. Then let's look at making time for yourself. What are your hobbies? What are things that you would love to do? What social events do you want to go to? What kind of quiet time do you want? Is it reading a book or listening to a book? Is it connecting with yourself in terms of your spiritual journey and church related things, passions that you want to give back to the community with, things like that? Remember, you are more than a caregiver. Your caregiving does not define you. It never has and never will. You're a person who has your own demands and your own needs, and we have to continue to fulfill them, even though we're helping another person. Strategy number 8, building that support network, a strong support network. These are your friends and family and community resources that you rely on. One of the things, again, we talk about in the Caregiver Freedom Club and the membership is how to find these resources. And more importantly, not to have just one resource, but to have many resources available. And we show you how to do that. So you've got them stacked. You've got your first string, second string, third string of people that all love to go take your loved one to the doctor. You have your first string, second string, third string of people who love to sit with your loved one while you go out and get respite care. You have your first string, second string, third string of people who love to bathe your loved one, your senior, turn them. You may not be able to physically turn them anymore. These people come in and they can physically do this. They can give them their bath, which is really a big job, as you know, and get them ready for bed or turn them or whatever needs to be done. So you've got more than just one person for each job. And then the tools and the resources, the apps that are out there that help with medications, appointments. You've got the pill boxes. You've got the financial aid because you went to certified elder law attorney. You've got the respite care because you've got the independent broker that knows the Medicare plans that offer and pay you or pay to have you get respite care and or a care navigator. You have hotlines, you have nonprofits. You're not, they just don't show up for you just because you become a caregiver. This is what I'm saying. You have to reach out to the proper people that have these kind of resources for you. And once we start looking at that, it is amazing how we uncover the wealth of information financially, emotionally, physically for the caregiver. All of this. And then strategy number 10 is your personal action plan. What little things are you going to do today for yourself? Is it a support group, scheduling time for exercise, exploring respite care options? It's just a tiny little baby steps. Again, there's a whole product I have called the 5 minute planner. It's basically breaking down a huge task to 5 minute increments that you do over the course of a week, a month, a year, whatever you want to do. It's totally up to you, but it takes these tasks and it breaks them down. It's called the 5 minute planner for caregivers. And it just takes monumental tasks and breaks them down for you into tiny tasks. I even have another one, can't think of the name of it right now, but it's something about time management. And every day it gives you a little bit to do to move forward in your caregiving goals to make your journey easier. So it's just 5 minute tasks for like 3 months, 6 months, something like that. Okay, so what we talked about today is the chronic condition, how it affects us. Now we know, and I know you recognize some of these signs in yourself, so it's time to start working on them. You took the quiz, so you see where you are now. Take it again in 3 months to see where you are. Hopefully the score is lower and you're doing better. And then the 10 effective strategies to easily implement that you can do so you know that your life is back on track. And hopefully, somewhere along the line, you'll shift that mindset and you'll say, I'm ready to take the step to take care of myself. It is so cool when you start to reduce this stress. You feel like everything's been taken off your shoulders. It is amazing what I see with our members. So, if you have any questions, I'm Suzanne. You can write me at suzanne@caregiverhaven.com. And, if you're a member of the Caregiver Freedom Club, we'll have another webinar in a couple of weeks. So take care and we'll talk soon. Bye-bye.